Results for this week's AEW Dynamite for January 20th. First, we kick off the show with -1, -1's birthday party match. Hangman Adam Page, Dark Order, Colt Cabana, John Silver, and Alex Reynolds versus the Hybrid 2, Angelico and Jack Evans, and Chaos Project, Luther and Serpentico. However, I'll give Luther credit. He was good on the mic, played the heel role. It was a good way to kick off the night. Winner, Adam Page in the Dark Order. I gave this a 3.75. Sorry, friends. It was a little funny segment with little Brody talking some trash, some little Brody Jr. That was good. And of course, turns out that Adam Page turns down joining the Dark Order. So Page does not turns down the Dark Order, wants to go out on his own. That was kind of the big news out of that match. But it was a great way to kick off the night. MJF and Chris Jericho check in, talking all sorts of smack, how they're going to win everything, blah, blah, blah. Sting and Darby Allin check in. Of course, then we get Taz checking in, and the Taz's Team Taz as well, talking about doing some kind of street fight. Now, the question is, and it wasn't answered, does this include Sting in this street fight? But Darby Allin says yes, he's definitely involved and interested in that. We'll see. I don't know. I'm kind of getting a little bored with the whole Sting just showing up and like what's going on there. But I'll tune in and keep finding out. The Elite check in. The Young Bucks go to Kenny Omega's house. Of course, we have this beautiful picture that they showed of Kenny Omega and Don Callis. I commented on social media that I wanted to buy that at AEW Shop and put in my living room. I was joking, but some little fracas goes down between Callis and the Young Bucks. We'll check in with that in a little bit. Cody Rhodes versus Pretty Peter Avalon. I had thought Pretty Peter Avalon was like a pretty well-known indie wrestler with good game. I was kind of disappointed in this match and disappointed in him. I thought maybe we could really see what he was made of. Winner, Cody Rhodes, 3.50. Jade Cargill comes out, interrupts things in the beginning, but then Cody goes on to win the match, and this was just kind of a snoozer match for me. Jungle Boy and Dax Hardwood, we get that next week. They have a little trash talking time, so that should be a good match for next week. John Moxley comes out. I thought pick Danny Limelight would be his guy, but Nick Caramato was his matchup tonight. Big guy. We've seen him on AEW Dark a bunch of times, and I commented if you play AEW Fantasy Wrestling and you had him on your squad, even though he lost, though he was still on Dark and on Dynamite, which is really good. Moxley gets the win. I gave this a 3.25. It was just kind of boring. Not really too into it. I wasn't really into Comorado, and then Moxley, it just kind of seemed sloppy, and it just wasn't into it. So 3.25. Lance Archer versus Eddie Kingston. We'll get that next week. That should be a good one. Again, I'm always love Eddie's character, just his ring skill. I haven't been too interested in. We'll see what Lance Archer does to him. Kenny Omega checks in and sees what happens to Don Callis' face, so he's a little mad about that. Then we have Matt Hardy and Private Party, Isaiah Cassidy and Mark Quinn versus Matt Sydal and Top Flight, Darius and Dante Martin. This one was match I was looking forward to a lot. Winner, Matt Hardy and Private Party. I gave this a 4.0. This was elite match of the night. A lot of high spots, but there was also a little sloppiness in there too. When with you guys, these guys flying around, but a lot of innovative stuff. I enjoyed this match. I was like, maybe Top Flight will win, but I'm like, no way. Private Party is going to win because they have all this stuff going on with Impact Wrestling, so there's no way they were going to lose. I like now that Private Party is kind of bad guys along with Matt Hardy. We'll see if Private Party can take this somewhere. They're definitely getting a push, and we'll see where that takes them. But it was a good, fun match, and my elite match of the night. Inner Circle checks in. MJF trying to pump up the troops. We'll see how that goes. Singles match, Laila Hirsch versus Penelope Ford. This one was a little sloppy at times, but Laila had a big spot in there too. I'm really impressed with her. Penelope, she was okay. I think this was a kind of a last-minute thing for her. She's gotten better, but I think more Laila carried the match. There was a lot of grappling in the beginning, but winner Penelope Ford, of course, kept messing that up. They gave this a 3.25 because there were spots in it. It definitely had me interested, and Laila Hirsch had me interested in the match as well. Maybe that she could pull it out. Then we had the whole thing with Miro and Charles Taylor he kept referring to, which I like this gimmick. Then Orange Cassidy was in the crowd. So I really like what's going on between Charles Taylor and Miro. I think he's playing a good job as the bad guy. And now he wanted Charles Taylor to say that Miro was now his new best friend. Great stuff. I really like what's going on with this. But Penelope Ford with the win. Gave it a 3.25 because I thought it was a good match. Then we had Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers beat up Penta for some reason. Anybody explain why Penta got beat up and not anybody else? Then we finally got the Inner Circle Tag Team Challenge. Santana and Ortiz, MJF and Chris Jericho versus Sammy Guevara and Hagar. Funny that they had a little spot with Sammy Hagar in there. And Chris Jericho almost knocked himself out doing his lion salt. It was a good match. Chris Jericho and MJF with the win. I gave it a 4.0. Again, I'm thinking Chris Jericho needs to kind of wrap this up. But I'm really disappointed that it is Chris Jericho and MJF. It shouldn't be. I'm not really sure why. I mean, I know Chris Jericho is a big draw and they're paying him a lot of money. It's Jericho and Hardy. I'm I don't think we needed that push in the beginning. I'm not really sure. I like Jericho on commentary. I just feel like every time he's in the ring, him and Hardy, I'm dude, you guys are old and slow. And especially when he tried to do the lion salt or whatever it's called. And he basically landed head first. I was and we've talked about his physique lately. I'm a little worried about Chris Jericho. He just needs to get, I don't know, a little bit better shape. I think he looks a little bit better now. So Chris Jericho and MJF get the win, and that is it for this week's AEW Dynamite. Card for next week's January 27th AEW Dynamite. This will be taped this week. A reminder, you can play fantasy wrestling at ProWrestlingNewsHub.com if you're interested and having a little bit of extra fun when you're watching these shows. So first up, the tag match, the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson, and the Good Brothers, Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson, versus Dark Order, Evil Uno, Stu Grayson, John Silver, and Alex Reynolds. Not really sure how this is going to go with the Young Bucks and the Good Brothers together after the whole Callis thing on Dynamite. Not really sure where that goes. That will be your match of the night. Eddie Kingston versus Lance Archer. That should be a good match as well. Cody responds to Shaq finally. Do we going to get what's going on after Jade Cargill interrupted Cody's match? Are we going to get something going on? Maybe Shaq shows up at Beach Bash, perhaps? Singles match, Dax Harwood versus Jungle Boy. This should be a good match. I'm really curious to see how Dax Harwood does on his own. Jungle Boy can hold his own with anybody in the ring and always has an entertaining match. So we'll see how that goes. Though it's on for next week. On 2 weeks, we've got Beach Bash. We got the Penelope Ford Kip Sabian wedding. That's going to be a kind of featured thing. Thunder Rosa versus Britt Baker. I'm totally into that one. That should be a great match. Two of the better women wrestlers in AEW, even though we're not sure where Thunder Rosa, who is wrestling for. And it was also announced a tag team battle royal for a title shot at Revolution. Remember, Revolution's at the end of February, the next pay-per-view. That should be fun. We'll see where that goes. Maybe Santana and Ortiz get a shot there. And then the main event was announced. It would be Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers, Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson versus John Moxley, Pac, and Rey Fenix. That will be your main event for Beach Break. All right, let's go over our quick recap of AEW Dark for January 19th, 2021. First up, Luchasaurus defeated Brandon Cutler. I was a little surprised. This was a pretty good match, and having these two guys go at it. It was kind of build up on BET, so that made it kind of cool and interesting. Sammy Guevara defeated El Australiano. That was a great match. I mean, El Australiano is pretty good, and Sammy Guevara, of course, put on a good show as well. Scorpio Sky defeated Nick Caramonto. Shanna defeated Marty Daniels. The Butcher and the Blade defeated Baron Black and Mike Verna. The Gun Club, Billy, Austin, and Colton defeated Adam, Priest, Ryzen, and Vary Morales. Santana and Ortiz defeated Danny Limelight and John Cruz. We had a Peter Avalon segment. Not really sure what the heck is going on with that. Private Party, Isaiah Cassidy, Mark Quinn defeated Aaron Solo and Lee Johnson. Big Swole defeated Alex Gracia. She's been getting some run there. Sonny Kiss defeated Zach Clayton. No worries that Sonny Kiss is injured. Top Flight, Darius Martin and Dante Martin defeated AJ Kirsch and Casey Navarro. Diamante and Ivelisse defeated Catalina Perez and Tesha Price. The Acclaimed, Anthony Bowens, Matt Caster defeated my man, Fuego del Sol and Sean Dean. And the Lucha Bros, yes, Penta El Zero Miedo and Rey Fenix defeated Chaos Project, Luther, and Serpentico. And that concludes this week's Dark.